So, we all know that the latest character coming out in this game is a hunter called Finson the Dentist. While this character adds to the variety of characters in the whole Identity V universe, he also broadens the story even more, and makes the overall Identity V lore feel more extended. Somehow, the extensive lore of this game feels overwhelming, because we are given many, many more lore pieces, but with barely any segment being finished. And because of that, I've been feeling dissatisfied. If I were to be honest, the extensiveness of the lore is just one factor that makes the whole Identity V lore overwhelming. Retcons, inconsistencies, and the mixed-up genre make this story become less and less enjoyable, at least for me. That's why, today, I kinda want to share with you all my struggle in understanding this game's lore, or rather, my dissatisfaction with the whole storyline of Identity V. This is just my personal view, by the way, based on my own perspective and experience in understanding the whole lore, so if you have a different opinion, feel free to have it. Anyway, here goes. The very first thing that bothers me in the whole Identity V lore is how this game mixes up several genres all at once, as this makes the story lose its focus. To be honest, I'm not complaining about a story with a mixed-up genre, as this has happened in so many fictional works already, like the Detective Conan manga series and some of the Hercule Poirot series. To this, I'm gonna let you take a look at one example, which is the 2023 movie, A Haunting in Venice. The movie tells us about a certain place in Venice which is said to be haunted, and a team of exorcists is sent to investigate the case. As the plot goes on, it is found out that the place was never haunted, and that the one making the report of the haunting was later revealed to have some kind of resentment toward everyone involved in the exorcism. This story, which is based on Agatha Christie's novel, brilliantly shows us the premise of supernatural elements, before later on revealing itself to be a detective mystery, and later on, a slice of life genre. In it, the three genres are mixed, but they are put together brilliantly, all because there is one certain focus in the story that holds everything together, which is the detective mystery. Identity V, however, is confusing to me because so far, it seems that there is no certain focus in the story that holds the overall plot together. For example, the first genre that comes to mind when we play the story is the detective mystery genre, as Orpheus is introduced as a detective. Later on, we are introduced to supernatural elements like ghosts and monsters, which are later found out to be the implication of a certain drug used as the central plot device in the story. From this alone, we already get three whole genres: a detective story, supernatural elements, and historical fiction. Frankly speaking, this still makes sense, but what happens later makes the whole plot confusing, as we start to get fantasy-themed elements like Lovecraftian beings, religious cults, and science fiction. This can be seen in characters' items that are out of the timeline, as well as some hunters that are explicitly Lovecraftian beings or ghosts. Although I understand that the story might not be fully revealed yet, the overall focus of the story still seems quite unclear by now. And as time goes on, instead of getting parts of the story focused on and finished first, we instead get more and more expanding plot lines without focusing on the existing ones, and that makes the whole story seem to lose its focus. In other words, sometimes I cannot even guess which tone the story is using. Where are they going to focus? And what exactly are they trying to tell? I kinda wish the devs would finish the story one by one instead of just broadening the lore without settling anything. If you notice, there are lots of inconsistencies within the Identity V story, especially in terms of the timeline. I've covered some of these inconsistencies already, such as Lily's timeline disaster in my other video. In it, the whole game, which we are led to believe started in 1896, becomes such a mess because Lily's age during the game is revealed to be 18. Lily, timeline-wise, should be at least 20 at the year of 1896, so the game shouldn't even have started when Lily was 18. So how did it come to that? Did the Manor game start in 1894, or was there a game before Game Zero? That's what makes the whole story confusing, and as time goes by, it makes me feel more confused and discouraged to explore further. That's just one example of the case. Several more inconsistencies do appear within the story. A prominent one is Jose's left arm, which many believe to be prosthetic. Is that the case, though? Well, let's explore further. Jose's left arm does look prosthetic, and someone diligent enough can see that it is most likely prosthetic. However, his design notes tell us that his left arm is not prosthetic and is instead mentioned to be a long glove. So, does that mean his arm is not prosthetic? Well, not really, because in another design note, specifically in the pirate radio costume, it is said that his left arm is prosthetic. So, now we have two differing facts, both presented by the same developers. Confusing, right? Which one are we supposed to believe in that case? Another example is Martha Remington's death. Some believe it was because of an abortion procedure, based on Emily's deduction quest that heavily implies something about the services she conducted. However, it is never explicitly stated whether Martha underwent an abortion in the first place. Furthermore, Freddie's first letter implies that Martha wanted to keep the baby instead of having an abortion. In this case, two inconsistencies appear, and so far, these inconsistencies have not been clarified, as if the fans are left with ambiguous answers while the devs keep expanding the lore. This really discourages me from diving further into the lore, as I find no clear direction on where the story is supposed to focus. Furthermore, theory building becomes harder when the story fragments are unreliable. At some point, I even thought that the devs do not keep track of their own story, or worse, that they change the direction of the story midway. So it feels like we are being given a story that is unfinished and prone to retcons. Retcons have become a major problem for me in every storyline, not just Identity 5 Inches particular. For those who don't know what a retcon is, well, if we refer to the Oxford Dictionary, a retcon is a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events, typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift or account for an inconsistency. To retcon a story means to revise an aspect of a fictional work retrospectively, usually by introducing new information that changes how past events are understood. In my own words, a retcon is basically a phase or an act where a piece of a storyline gets modified or deleted altogether for a certain purpose. It can be done to facilitate a plot shift in order to make the whole storyline smoother. Is it good to retcon a story? Technically, it gives you the impression that you have to believe something different after being led to believe something else. Like being told that a terribly villainous character is actually innocent. The plot might end up being more enjoyable, but the emotions we felt toward a certain event or character become crumbled because of it. There are moments where I just want to drop the whole story because of retcons. I'm not sure if others feel the same way, but for me, the feeling of experiencing a retcon is unpleasant. And retcons happen a lot in Identity 5. One major example is how the devs changed Antonio's story. Initially, there was a certain woman named Andrea who was a major plot device in his story, as she became the reason Antonio went to the manor. However, this was later removed, and Andrea becomes completely erased from Antonio's story altogether. While this might make for a better plot for Antonio, it also takes away the enjoyment of analyzing his story for me, and I lose interest in following it any further. Antonio is just one example of retcons in the story. On a smaller detail, Emil's serial number was also changed, but with clearly different implications regarding his reaction to the drugs given by the manor. And there might be even more retcons from characters I have yet to explore, because sometimes I already lose interest after seeing so many retcons happen. Now let's go back to Finson, the dentist. As I said before, the addition of Finson clearly makes the whole Identity 5 plot broader. Later on, we might find out what game he was in, who he was connected to, and so forth. I, however, am not really pleased with this decision. There are so many major characters that have been mentioned for a long time, like Miles, Edmund Reed, Roy Cafe, and Arthur Byers, and yet none of them have been introduced. Instead, the devs keep releasing characters that are barely mentioned in the story. At some point, the characters introduced in this game feel random, disconnected, and sometimes barely tied to what we already know so far. I mean, we already have Miles, whose story has been built up, or Edmund Reed, who was clearly mentioned as a participant in Game 2, so why don't they release those characters first and get their stories done, instead of introducing characters that we barely know? It's been years since we learned that Miles was willing to join the Manor game, and yet he still hasn't made any appearance in it. Instead, we keep getting characters that we barely know. I wouldn't even be surprised if one day the devs just drop a shoemaker named Levi Strauss as a survivor in the game. Perhaps these random new characters are needed to match the lore with marketing and gameplay, that instead of releasing a character to complete one segment of the story, NetEase also needs to fill their wallet, and thus holds back confirmed characters in favor of ones that would sell better. That's quite fair, though it makes the whole story feel disconnected and incomplete. With all of these phenomena happening, I sometimes feel discouraged to even continue with the story, as it becomes less and less enjoyable. I initially liked the whole IDV lore because of how it explores human emotions in each canonical game, and I eagerly waited for every update of a certain game. However, with how all of these phenomena have unfolded, the lore feels less enjoyable day by day. At least for me. Instead of curiosity, the story presents confusion, and I, as the reader, also get confused along the way, which gradually reduces my interest in the whole IDV lore. In addition to that, the more the lore is broadened and left incomplete, the more theories appear within the story, making it feel like it is filled with theories rather than confirmed facts. Not to mention that understanding IDV lore requires a lot of time and research, and as the lore keeps expanding because of all these things, combined with my reduced time, it feels almost impossible for me to enjoy the story anymore. I sincerely wish, however, that the game would follow a clearer structure. Perhaps finishing story arcs first before adding new ones, and prioritizing consistency over expansion, would give fans more enjoyment rather than continuously expanding the story without resolution. While there are people who enjoy this kind of storytelling, my mind and my routine struggle to keep up with this kind of development. Thus, I also feel the need to say this, as many viewers of this channel expect lore analysis. From this moment on, I might not dive too deeply into the game's storyline. Adding to this is the current situation in IDV, which is quite chaotic right now, with the AI-related stuff and all, so I might instead analyze the lore from different angles, not deep dives, but more like reflections. Or maybe I will pivot my content away from Identity 5 altogether, who knows. By the way, if any of you are curious about my view on the current situation of IDV, I shared my thoughts in one of B Black Phoenix's videos and in my Discord server. Many people have already shared their thoughts, so I do not think I need to say much more about it. Again, this is just me sharing my perspective and my own thoughts, so if you have different opinions, feel free to disagree. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.